because Boris Johnson wants his country to leave the EU. Is he stoppable?
Yes. Well, I think Boris is exhibiting naked political ambition. I think this is expedient. He sees this as a political opportunity. Obviously, he has some concerns about Britain in the EU, but I think the agenda is clear. The latest polls show about a third of the country are in favor of staying in, about a third want to go out, and the other third don't know. And interestingly, if you look at the data, most of that third who don't know feel uninformed and lack information. So the campaign, the 9-week campaign, which is limited to about £7 million or $10 million on each side, will be absolutely critical. I expect the vote to be quite close, but it's an opportunity for those who believe in the future of Britain being in Europe to express the case in a logical and coherent way. I think it's about trade. I think it's about employment and obviously jobs. I think it's about security. So I think it'll be a stronger, safer Britain in. And frankly, the people who say we want to come out really don't know. It's a sort of a black hole that we're jumping into. We really don't know.
Right.
And there's no clear agenda about how, if we did come out, we would manage all those free trade agreements that people think will be instantly renegotiated. The Norwegian case is a case where they pay for membership and have no benefits as a result. So the models that one sees as alternatives, I think, are not coherently explained or adequately explained. So net-net, it'll be a very interesting campaign, an important campaign to convince the electorate one way or the other.
Were you surprised that Boris Johnson, first, he is quite popular, and two, he's the mayor of London. London arguably has the most to lose because of their, the exposure to the banks, and also so many European companies have bases here. Were you surprised that he chose the Brexit route?
Well, I think, obviously there's a personal political agenda here which is important to him. And he saw this as a major opportunity to break with the direction that Prime Minister Cameron was taken. And I think it was expedient on that level. Obviously, he has some concerns, as we all do, about the extent of the bureaucracy in the EU and the nature of that bureaucracy and interference. But having said that, I think it is really important to be inside the tent, trying to reform and change, rather than being outside the tent on a totally unknown situation where it'll be very difficult, certainly for many years, to figure out what Britain's role is in the world, where trade is, where employment, where jobs are. The clients that I talk to, at best, what's happening is neutral. At worst, it's highly negative. Clients will be postponing decisions, waiting to see what happens on June the 23rd, postponing investment decisions, postponing trade decisions, and considering alternative scenarios like we all are about what we will have to do if the country does vote to come out on June the 23rd. So I think it's a period of instability and uncertainty.
All right, hold on.
And you've seen the reaction of the markets, of sterling. As you said, we're testing now 138. It's an ill wind from our point of view, with 10% of our business in the UK. We had a currency headwind last year, as you'll see when we announce our results on Friday week. What was a very good year for us. But having said that, one of the good things that happens, of course, is a weak pound gives us advantages internationally, but long term, it doesn't do the country any good, and it doesn't do the country any good from a trade and investment point of view.
But Martin, let's rewind, because you said you're evaluating options like many other businesses and many other CEOs. Are you actually considering, if this country were to leave the EU, to move headquarters outside London?
You're breaking up, Francine. I don't know whether the Mobile World Congress is having problems, but try again.
Sir Martin, are you thinking of relocating in Europe if this country were to leave the EU?
Well, we're examining what the implications of any of a negative vote being a vote to come out. And obviously we have to examine all the scenarios and what it means for us. I think the thing that worries me most is that our biggest trading bloc, whether we like it or not in the UK, still remains that European bloc. It is one of the world's largest economies, 500 million people, a GDP roughly equivalent to the US, around 16 or 17 trillion dollars. And if access to that is restricted or limited, that will exacerbate the issues that we face.